Yeah.
So now you're saying that we really do that we've lost it and this should be something that we're practicing. Why do you think that? Why is that? Why is that?
The same reason we're losing the ability to communicate, the ability to relate, all of these things, because we're missing this practice. So the things that we in our generation can do, unfortunately, the younger ones have no clue. They're like, "Oh, how do I talk to, how do I do this?" It's like,
Yeah, they have that.
there was no one to teach them. If we don't teach them, where are they going to get it from? Because they don't do it themselves.
True.
Well, and
Kane, you're chomping at the bit. Go ahead, Kane. No, Kane's been chomping at the bit for a minute here. I see him. He's like,
go ahead.
No, you mentioned behavior, and it kind of made me think of something kind of cheesy. But I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it before, or at least know of somebody who's experienced this. But it's like when guys are together, and it's like, oh, they try to be impressive. They try to show off. They try to be cool. And in the history of ever, like, I've never heard of if you talk to your grandparents, it wasn't, oh, I saw your dad base jump off of, Dead Man's Ridge, and I just knew he was the man for me. He was a daredevil. Talk to teenagers now. It's like, oh, you know what? When Keith ran up and just did a backflip out of nowhere, like, I thought that was so cool. I knew he was the guy for me. And sadly, that's what a lot of like adolescents and young men nowadays think courting is, or like icebreakers, which is, oh, I did a backflip in front of her. I did a cool trick on my skateboard and she thought it was awesome. And so now we're dating. Like, it doesn't really happen that way. And I think that's where we're kind of moving away from the practice of courting, where it used to be getting to know one another. And now it's just kind of trying to impress somebody. So as much as everybody tries to say like, oh, I don't care what women think, or, like, I'm red pill, all this stuff, it still comes down to a certain fact of like peacocking. You're putting your talents, your abilities, your possessions on display to try and be impressive.
Yep. But honestly, I think it's something that we should still be practicing. I mean, absolutely. Honestly, I think it's right something way. The right way. I mean, that's a hard thing to even say, because there's so many people out here now that, I mean, let's take it from both ends. Okay, we got the extreme, right? Red pill on this side, right? And then we've got what we call sugar babies or gold diggers, or, hypergamy dating. Okay. Women that are, and men, they do it too, going out there looking for that 6-figure person. So when you have such extremes on such a massive base, it makes it really difficult to practice courting and then not feel used. You know what I'm saying? If you're rejected, or that person loses interest, or if that person was just using you. Because if a girl is sugaring or whatever, and she's just after your money, then she's just using you for that. There's no communication behind that. That's what she's doing. You know what I'm saying? If, a guy is, red pill over here and he's luring you in with this, that, and the other, but really his intention is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like, where do you sit with that? So like, yeah, I think it's something that should be still practiced, but how do you practice it? Like, how did you even, know if you're doing it with the right person? That's the thing. So yeah, I think it's just practiced, because I think that that's part of the connection that we're losing. We're not nice to each other.
Well, and so that
point blank period.
That kind of reminds me of a meme that I just saw, where it was like a couple of guys laughing in a private jet, and one guy saying to the other, and it was like, dude, I'm so successful, I just want a single mom in my life now. And the other guy's like, dude, for real, same. And not to say that it's, right, appropriate, or anything, but it's like, really take a look at what you're, like we talked about last week, what are you trying to attract? What are you doing to attract the right person? If you're trying to attract a person with money, then you're not going to find somebody that matches your values, your ideals, and your goals. Hate to break it to you, but that perfect idea of your partner, having six figures and everything, if that person did exist, odds are they wouldn't have an interest in you, because you also have to have not necessarily money, but you have to have something of substance to offer to be able to attract a person like that. And
Right.
like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be money, doesn't have to be anything other than just a personality. If
Right.
you look at a lot of like these athletes, I mean, dating supermodels, I mean, you really have to look at that and wonder, what does love look like in that relationship versus when you look at like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, their wives, not to say that they're unattractive, but they're not as,
They're
supermodel
not the tens
walk
and
down
dimes
the
that,
runway.
that you would think.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, like you don't see them. I mean, Jeff Bezos, he divorced his wife and started dating somebody else who looked very homely. Uh, Amazing person, probably, but I mean, not a supermodel. So, I mean, it even just goes to show once you have billions, you're still not looking for that, a super attractive supermodel spoiled brat. And I
Right.
think that goes
Lady,
for especially women on the
ladies,
opposite
lady,
end. Like,
this is a PSA for you. All right, we may not be, the top earners, but we know 'em. We know 'em.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
deal: if you think to get a top earner, you have to look a certain way, you have to be a 10, you have to have fake boobs and all this other stuff, and hit the gym every day, and have that's one thing. But keep in mind, right? And they'll take you, but you're an asset. You're one of their toys. They have Bugattis, right? Cars that look good for a reason. They have girls that look good for a reason. They have a big house for a reason. It's appearance, right?
Mhm.
So when they decide that they want somebody and they look for these things that they value, you got to make sure you're bringing that to the table. Because I've seen plenty of interviews and things like women like, oh, why, he'll take me because I look like this, and the dudes on the panel are like, okay, cool. How long is that gonna last?
But yeah, I mean, it eventually catches up with you. You're only cute, you're only pretty for so much. You have to have some kind of substance to offer. And
Absolutely.
for a woman, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean a job. You know what I'm saying? Like for a woman, a lot of times that's something like, caring for a home, making sure he doesn't have anything to worry about when he comes home. But you need to understand that there's always a trade-off. If you don't have a job, if you don't have your own shit, if you don't have your own things to fall back on, you are a pawn. He has the money. He eventually will tell you where you're going, what you're doing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be aggressive about it and be like, you can't go here, you can't dress like that. It's very gradual because as far as he's concerned, he owns you. Like subconsciously, there is a thought process in there like, well, you can't pay your own bills. I'm paying your bills. So this is what's going to happen. Okay. Like this is what's going to happen.
Before you take offense to that, speaking of the audience, before you take offense to that, like, no, I pay my own. Think about this, right? You move into a guy's place, he pays the rent. The guy then decides, you know what, I want to hang this picture on the wall, and you come in like, I don't like that picture. Why would he listen to you? Pays the rent. So when you're in a
You have
relationship,
kind
when
of
somebody's
stable
paying for everything,
substance or partnership. Yeah.
eventually
Yeah.
it's gonna come down to like, all right, cool. Well, you don't pay the rent, so this is how we're gonna do it.
Right. Well, and
both
out there,
men and
it goes so much drastic.
yeah, both men and women, whoever you are, if you ever find yourself in that position, in that situation, don't allow yourself to give somebody else all of your power and have the power over you to be able to make those kinds of shots. Make sure to still keep something in your corner.
Yep. Something in your back pocket. So, I mean, that leads us to a really good question is, courting something that just men should do? Is it something that women can do too? Should women be courting men? I mean, because there's a lot of these channels out there that talk about hypergamy dating. There's a lot of channels that talk about sugaring. Hypergamy dating and sugaring are two totally different things. Like sugaring is like going after somebody for their money. Hypergamy dating's seeking a high valued person to date. But then, that's who you go for. That's your attraction basis. So, I mean, can women and should women be courting men? And is it something that men should be doing? And I'm gonna kick it to Kane because Kane's been super quiet. Hold on, Kane's over there just.
He can also answer. My question is, what does a woman courting look like?
Right, true. Add that on there. What's that look like?
Okay. So I can tell you realistically what it looks like and what it should look like.
Oh, I like that. Let's go.
All right.
Realistic.
So realistically, I don't know if any of you guys have seen lately. It's kind of an old early 2000s movie. You guys remember the movie A Knight's Tale with
Yes.
Heath Ledger?
Yep.
All right.
Heath Ledger's first big movie.
Yeah. So in that film, he was attracted to this fair maiden, and he did things to prove his affection for her. He did things to prove that he loved her. He bought her things. He showed up. He lost a couple jousting matches and just took lances to the chest to show his affection, hurt and broke his body to show that he cared about this person. And but I don't know if anybody really realized it or noticed it. And if not, maybe we should start a cancel culture around this. But she didn't really do anything in return aside from give him attention, give him the time of day. And so realistically, that's what courting looks like more often than not. And some people will get offended, but courting more or less looks like a man doing things for a woman to try and get her favor, try to get her support, try to get
Attention.
her
Just
interest.
attention.
Her
And
attention, yeah.
Her fervor.
Her fervor.
Yes, her fervor.
So, but what it should look like, it's like, hey, if somebody's taking an interest in you and you notice that they're taking an interest in you and you have an interest in them, it should be reciprocated. So, I mean, his interests, his likes, the things that he talks about are just as important as your likes that he's keeping track of in the back of his mind to try and surprise you and show you that he's a good listener, show you that, oh, I remember you said you liked, sunflowers. And so he surprises you on the third date with a bouquet of sunflowers, not roses, because anybody can do roses. But I listened to you when you said sunflowers. Here's this. And, the guy will say like, oh, well, you know what? I need, something for this, or I'm working on this, or, like I'm working on acquiring this for a project, or I do this as a hobby. And more often than not, a woman isn't coming back with something, on the fourth date or fifth date saying like, hey, you said you were an artist and I looked up what, a high quality artist pencil or paper would be. And I grabbed this for you just to show you that I'm just as interested in you as you are in me. And so, and it doesn't necessarily need to be gifts. It could be communication. It could be conversation. It could be like, hey, I didn't have a strong mother figure growing up, so I don't know how to make, pancakes or something. I know there's a lot of women who do court. I know there's a lot of women who are like, oh, I pay attention. I do this. And I need you ladies to know you guys are fucking special. You guys are amazing, but you are few and far between.
Yeah.
All right. And so if there's a guy out there that's saying, oh, well, my newlywed wife or, my girlfriend, paid attention and did stuff for me, realize that you've got a 1 in a million, because a lot of women out there, as much as men, don't pay attention, don't care. They only care about their own ends, their own desires, and whether or not you're meeting them.
There it is. Why do you think that is? That's it. I like your personal opinion. Why do you think it is that women don't, or that's what you said. There's few and far between. There are women that do, but why do you think it is that women don't then? Because we're listeners. We listen, right? That's what we do. We want you to listen to us. So, playing devil's advocate here, we listen. So how is it that women don't listen and reciprocate on? Why do you think that is? Why do you think do they not feel like they should have to buy you something in the beginning? Do they feel like they shouldn't have to talk to you about the things you're interested in? And I'm going to get this from both y'all, because I want two guys' opinion on why you think women don't do these things. Because they're not supposed to? It's just social construct? What is it?
Yes. It has been, to me, my opinion, and it's just, like I said, my experience, my opinion, my world, what I view, my, social media intake, everything that I've seen. I feel like women today are much different than they were back in the day, where nowadays women feel like they are the prize and that, just their attention is enough. And that, you should be fortunate and lucky just to talk to me. The fact that I am, but
felt that way. I'm going to interrupt you. Women have always felt that way. That's why there is courting. Women have always felt that way. We're the prize. You need to work for us. You need to work for my attention. That's how it's been.
If you're looking for a six-figure man, that's a prize. That's a prize in and of itself. So what are you doing to garner his attention? What are you doing to get his?
There wasn't
such a sense of entitlement. His goals and his ambitions. It's not necessarily, hey, can you double what I have? Can you do this? Are you working? It can just be like, hey, you can help him out with a project. You could, come up with a revolutionary idea. You could be supportive. Again, going back to Jeff Bezos' wife, Jeff Bezos started Amazon out of a garage and a wife who had his back and believed in him.
Right.
Okay. And that's all
literally
a
what
lot
you
of guys could settle for, is just a woman that believes in them, supportive, just saying, hey, I believe in you, that you could do this, instead of what happens nowadays, because everybody thinks it's fucking hilarious, which is say, oh, you're an idiot. That's never going to fucking work. Do you see this, asshole? Oh my God, you'll never believe what my dumbass husband tried telling me today. And that right there is poison in any relationship. And that poisons any kind of courting. If you're going to sit there and look at, your partner, men and women alike, whether or not, of course, we're talking about a heterosexual relationship most of the time, but I mean, it goes both ways. Women, man supporting a woman. And think about it. Nowadays, women are in the workplace. Women are doing a bunch of things. Women are owning businesses, having startups. A lot of them, I hate to say it, are single moms who didn't know what they were doing after their breadwinning husband left. And then they picked themselves up by their bootstraps, created a business, built an enterprise, and are now successful. And so all it would have taken was, if they had a man in their life at the time, was somebody not telling them, you're going to fail. That's stupid. You are going to fuck this up. I think that's ridiculous. You're selling makeup. You're making perfume. You're doing, what do you call it? The candles, the wax burners.
The Scentsy or whatever.
Scentsy.
Yeah.
All these different, and they call them pyramid schemes and everything. But rather than look at whether their business practice is ethical or can turn a headway or something, look at their drive, look at their ambition, look at what they're trying to build, look at what they're creating on their own without somebody supporting them, as well as everybody telling them, you're gonna fuck this up. And just being able to take that head on and continue going. That right there, in courting and going back to courting, you have to look at somebody's ambition just as much as you're looking at their wallet, and like I said, it just goes both ways.
Okay, so real quick, so you're saying that women don't do it because of socialist construct. You're saying that that's pretty much the main reason they think they're the prize. Knight, do you think the same thing? Do you think that women don't do those things?
Actually disagree in some part with that.
Okay.
For a couple different reasons. One, women actually do quite a bit of courting. It's just much more subtle. And I take, for example, some of the conversations I have with women have left relationship, and they talk about all the things I did for my man, right? All the things I did I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and when they go off the list, you're like,
it's a lot. It's a lot. Actually, yeah, it's a lot, and the man's missing it. Yeah,
and you don't notice it until it's gone. I think with the male version of it, it's a lot more direct. It's a lot more obvious.
It's like, here it is. Here's a prize. Here's a fucking present. Here's this.
Here's the receipt from the item I bought you.
Right, basically. Right. Well, where women are like, do you remember when you came home from work the other day and you were distraught? You didn't know how you were going back to work the next day. You freaking couldn't handle the kids, the bills, the whole. And I said, I got you.
Now, keep in mind the difference is not being in a relationship, but before. So the courting process. So there's so this, that once you're in a relationship, you can say that's
long-term courting too. I mean, there's courting within a relationship too, because I mean, there's always changes and things like that, and courting goes back into play. But regardless, like, I think that there's a lot of times, like you said, there are women that aren't just putting it out there; they're just doing, you know what I'm saying, and expecting someone to see it.
So,
and a lot of times it goes.
So that brings me to this other question, right? Which is, should women or men do it? So when men do it, it's seen as a good thing. You use the example of Knight's Tale. So he breaks his body to impress this woman. We can go further back. Everybody's favorite film, Princess Bride. What happens there?
Man traverses heaven and hell.
Yep.
Same thing. Now, if we flip the script and we show, in media, when women are courting, it's more likely that they're either addicted, stalkerish, and obsessive.
Yeah, true.
That's the question.
True, because even here's a great example. Tonight, both of you told stories where the courting that you have experienced is a woman being obsessed with you and you didn't like it.
So real quick, I got something that perfectly lines up with this. It was a conversation that I had with my mother a couple years back, or that I overheard. She married my stepdad. They'd been together for a number of years at that point, and her car was giving her trouble. And so she said one time, we were sitting there talking at the table, and my stepdad was, doing something, but he was present. And she goes, "I need a boyfriend." And so her husband dropped what he was doing. And he was like, "The did you just say?
What do you mean? What
Like,
do you
What are you
mean?
talking about?" And she goes, I miss having a boyfriend. He was like, "Because my boyfriend bought me tires. My boyfriend took care of my car. My boyfriend, took me to dinner. My boyfriend did this." And
We go to dinner.
at the time, and understandably so, it was offensive as hell. I mean, my dad was like, "The fuck?" Like, I'm
Fuck,
and
yeah.
because he had an
Your
idea of everything that he was doing and had it in his mind that what he was doing was enough. And while it was enough, and while my mother wasn't unappreciative, it just wasn't what she was looking for at that period in time. And so it kind of just goes into that argument of, like, oh, women are never satisfied. Women are very easily satisfied. You just have to know what it is that's satisfying in that point in time. So where it gets
Right.
unfair is that what satisfies a woman changes day by day. And so, you're thinking that doing something,
agree with you on that one. No, we're not even gonna put that out on SafeWord. Half the time,
but-
the men that aren't listening,
It may
We
not
both
be
got
day by day.
squinty-eyed on that. No,
no,
we all got
no,
squinty-eyed on that.
absolutely not. No, we're not doing.
but no,
It
hold
may
on.
not be day by day, but when compared to a man's, generally speaking, as we say, when it comes to the man, it's consistent over years. What I like now, you can say I like 10 years ago, right? Women's change a bit more frequently. I'll definitely say that.
Okay, Fervor. All men have been talking enough. So,
Because I'm about to lose it.
First off, I am the fucking prize. Second, so is he, though. So is he.
Right,
He
exactly.
is the prize as well. That's where the main difference is. You two have not been dating the right women or courting right women. Then
Yes.
And
Real
you need
talk.
to get yourself someone who truly believes you are the prize as well.
Right.
Where do you
And-
find those?
You should be his queen, and he should be your king.
That would be
And
nice.
that's
That
what it
would,
should
in a perfect utopia, I would love that.
Hold on, Fervor. Y'all had your turn. Hold on.
Where do you find those?
Hold on.
I love it.
Second of all, whenever it comes to buying things, as a PSA, I love flowers, but I love plants even more. Don't buy me flowers. I'm appreciative. But anyways, as a woman courting you, and I'll put this out there, as a woman, as myself courting you, I am doing, things that are a little bit more subtle. I am the ear that you're going to talk to if you're having a stressful day at work.
Mhm.
I am the person who's going to take you out to dinner, or if you just want to stay in, I'm cooking you dinner. I'm help cleaning your house, making sure you have clean laundry, to wear the next day. You have clean underwear, clean socks, whatever you need, I'm there with you. But in that same aspect, as someone who is also courting me, I'd hope to be able to get that back as well.
Right.
So when it comes to courting, you should be walking down the same line, and hopefully it's an upward trajectory, and you guys are doing things for each other while still learning what each other likes.
That was perfectly put. Yep.
So example, like I said at the very beginning, I am most definitely the prize, but so are you.
Yeah. So it's like from that movie where it's like, love is like a circle. It's like a circle. So if you're giving and he's giving and y'all just giving and giving, or she is giving and he is giving, y'all just keep giving to each other, the cup never goes empty.
In a way that
The moment
they
someone
can
drops
recognize,
off,
that's important. Because if
then
they
you're
don't
just giving
recognize
and giving, and the
giving,
cup.
they don't realize it. So they have to recognize what you're giving is what you're giving.
Right.
You know what? And also, if they don't recognize that, then that means you're courting the wrong person, and that's where you cut ties.
Yep.
Or using the wrong language.
Yep.
Well,
Explain
that's where
that.
communication comes into play. But then if you guys can't communicate and hash that out, you cut ties. That's why you don't get married after a month or two.
Right. You got to learn somebody. Learn
Like,
something.
I want to piggyback on these two situations. With subtle courting. I had mentioned sometimes I like sweets, I like cookies, cakes, and things. And girl we had gone on a date, and she brought me a bag of cookies that she had made. She made these cookies, and to this day, they're the best cookies I have ever had. Now, I don't know if she was just that good or it was that situation, but they were the best cookies I have ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So, points for subtlety.
Oh,
Another
so you
perfect
cookie.
example.
Where's
It
the
was
point?
Christmas.
Okay.
Points for subtlety. It was
He
Christmas.
just wanted to tell you about the best cookie he
The best
ever
cookie.
had. You know what I'm saying?
They
The
go out of their
best
way
cookie
to make
he ever
that's the thing,
had.
they go out of their way to make you feel special, right? Because at that moment, I was like, she baked me cookies. Like, she didn't buy them, she baked them.
Right.
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 Another time, it was the holidays. You know, your boys will put together a birthday party, sure, you know, but nobody puts together an event for you better than the missus.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that's the thing that goes by the wayside is a lot of men or people that I can't even say men. It's just when you're seeing down a narrow pathway, a lot of times shit is missed. You know what I'm saying? There's little subtle things that are happening and you're missing it, and then you're feeling used. And it's like, but it doesn't look like your grand gestures, but it's still gestures and it's grand. And I'm showing you I'm here, you know?
Well, and
That kind of thing.
I kind of want to address what Knight had said as far as speaking the wrong language. And because I think that happens so fucking often, and it goes unnoticed. I think it would have saved and salvaged a ton of relationships if you guys were addressing the right love languages. So, I mean, if you're not familiar with the love languages, it's acts of service, words of affirmation, you know, things like that. And so I think it's really important to figure out what makes the other person feel special, what makes the other person feel heard, and not necessarily adjust yourself, but definitely try to make it a point to respect that person's love language as much as you want your own respected. And so if you guys are doing for each other, but in opposing ways to their love language, it's going to go unnoticed because, I mean, let's say if you have somebody whose love language is acts of service and your love language is gift giving. And so you're getting this person gifts, you know, showing that you care, you're paying attention. You show up every day with something in your hands for them and tell them, here, you're special. I was thinking about you. And that person is grateful, but still feels like they're lacking the acts of service, you know, the quality time aspect of it. Like, no gift is going to amount to quality time. And so if you're missing the quality time and just showering them with gifts, then yeah, you're going to start to create a divide.
Yeah, it's going to be insane.
Absolutely. And definitely. So just to kind of piggyback off of that real quick. So that's my love language, is acts of service. There is nothing sexier than a man in my kitchen, cooking, cleaning, doing something for me, or getting laundry done for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm strong and independent. I can cook my own meal. At the same time, if someone goes out of their way and does that for me and make sure I come home to a clean house, that speaks volume more louder than just physical touch. I really don't like to be touched too much, being all huggy and close to each other. That's not me.
Right.
If you're in my kitchen, you know, doing things for me, that speaks.
It's a beautiful harmony. Right. Yeah. And yeah, I think Kane did a really good job with expressing the fact that, like, you have to know what your love language is. So maybe we'll come back in with another show and do a test and figure out what's your love language, Nat? What's your love language, Kane?
Sounds like a good video.
We can figure this out.
All right, so we're definitely running over time, but there is one last thing that I wanted to bring to our attention and have us discuss really fast. Do you guys think, with everything that we just talked about, that courting is a characteristic of an assertive partner?
Ooh.
So if you have somebody who is doting on you, if you have somebody who is courting you, then I would say that is taking an assertive stance as far as pursuing a relationship. Now, does that mean that person is assertive and that you're going to be in a if you're a dominant personality and they're expressing their dominant personality by being assertive in their courtship, is courting a hallmark of an assertive personality?
I think it can be viewed as that. And I think a lot of people misconstrue it, and it can be viewed as that. But I have known a lot of people that label themselves as beta males. You know what I'm saying? People that label themselves as subs, people that label themselves as subservient, right? They're just more submissive. But they'll go out of their way to make sure that and they'll court. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've even had clients that have tried to court, and they're, it's like, dude, it's never going to work because I don't date like that. But it's really sweet, but they're not assertive, and they're not assertive maybe even within their own life. Some are, some aren't. It doesn't necessarily mean that, because somebody that's subservient is somebody that, their love language is acts of service. Their love language is doing for that person. Their love language is let me do. And so in their courting, they're going to do that as well. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in a dominant relationship or dealing with a dominant partner because somebody is asserting themselves and showing you that they have an interest in you,
I think all courting,
it's like that old saying, don't miss your opportunity. You don't know when you're going to see this person again,
As a result of that, all courting requires assertiveness because there's an action you have to take. There's an action you have to initiate. So it's not a reactive position. You have
right,
to.
And it's something you have to think about. Like, courting doesn't come easy, and that's something that needs to be addressed. Courting doesn't come easy. You can't just go and say, hey, let me go buy some gifts for this chick. Let me go buy some gifts for this man. And, he's going to know I'm interested. No, you've got to listen. You've got to pay attention to what that person wants. You've got to, really understand what it is that this person wants in order to court them, to give them what they want. But you need to give them, what they want without changing yourself, if that makes any sense. Because I know a lot of people that'll go through a courting motion and then it drops off as soon as the relationship starts because that's not who they were. They were just trying to gain your interest. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, you don't change yourself in an order or an effort to show assertiveness or to show that person your interest.
I definitely agree with Knight on this one. And I know that's a rarity, in most cases, but there is some sort of dominance that needs to take place just because it is an action that you have to put into place, put forth some effort. But is it all dominance? No. Is it being aggressive? No. It's just, basically getting up out of your chair and doing something about it.
Right. Yeah. Showing your interest. What do you
There's actually two sides. There's two, imagine the process for you to get up, go across the dance floor and say, may I have this dance? Right.
Right. It's a huge thing.
There's a lot of things that you have to, you're showing that you're a dominant person to be able to be like, I will lead you through this. But then on the flip side, we have courting for someone who, as we say, is a simp. Yeah. So they're trying to do everything. They're trying to buy everything, and they're not being that assertiveness. That's when they become the doormat. And that's why a lot of men feel like doormats. Because they're missing that part of it.
Well, and they've given too much, or they've given more than what they would actually do if the interest wasn't there. Like, the interest is so grand that they're doing and doing and doing, and then they can't keep it up because that's not who they are. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, don't do that. Just, pay attention. Listen, it's the little things for people. It really is. It doesn't even matter if you're a man or a woman. A lot of times, especially if you have a connection, it is the little things that matter. Like, it's not you buying a gift, the rest of it. That's great. That's wonderful. And that might be somebody's love language, and great. But things lose their value the moment you touch them. So what else is that person's love language besides this? Because that's how you get to a person. That's how you connect with a person. What is it besides this? Because this fades very quickly, just like looks.
I like when you do that.
Yeah. They like when I do that? I know a lot of girls like when I do that too. Okay, so go ahead.
All right. Well, that's the show for tonight. I threw that last piece in there just because I was wildly curious. It was something that dawned on me while I was writing this up, and thought it'd be cool to pitch to you guys. But that is our show for tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. And hopefully you guys learned a little bit more about courting. So If you're interested, never tried it or never had it done, then or never experienced it, here's something to try. All right, that's it for us for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys like and subscribe so that way you guys get all your notifications, know when SafeWord's going live and coming back. All right, we'll catch you guys another time. Peace out.